Warning: this episode of A Dose of Buckley may contain Buckley. Viewer discretion is advised. Also support The Habit at patreon.com/doseofbuckley. Video games have advanced in so many ways over the years. Not just in terms of graphical or technical capabilities, but in the stories they tell and the themes that they're willing to tackle. With Pac-Man, you were a big yellow dot eating smaller dots, and occasionally a cherry or pretzel, while being chased by ghosts in a maze. There's no more to it than that. Any story behind this, you had to create in your head. Like perhaps Pac-Man has been sent to hell for his sin of gluttony, forced to run and feed through never-ending mazes, never allowed to stop or escape, and the ghosts are demons who torture him by painfully discorporating his soul if they catch him, at which point he lets out his anguished scream. There, now Pac-Man's more interesting, right? But at what cost? A man punished for his eating disorder? Hell? Demons? Torture? Well, now this needs a trigger warning, right? According to some people, yes. Yes, it does. Like everything on the internet, there's a small but vocal group of people who feel that game developers need to cater to their individual specific needs by warning them of every single possible thing that could cause them mental anguish while playing a video game. Recently, a game called Boyfriend Dungeon came out, an action RPG dungeon crawler dating sim where you form relationships with men or women who are actually weapons. It's an obviously absurd, over-the-top premise that couldn't possibly upset anyone, as generally speaking, no one has ever dated a boy who turned into a sword. Welp. Apparently, a bunch of people complained to the developer that they were triggered by things in the game, and so they tweeted that the content warning for Boyfriend Dungeon inadequately describes the events of stalking and emotional manipulation that exist in the story. We'll update the game next week with a more accurate CW. We apologize for any hurt inflicted by our mistake. Thank you for playing. And they updated the game's content warning at the start that explains that it has these things. Imagine being shocked that a so-called dating simulator, which simulates dating, might include some negative things that people have experienced while dating. But also, it's about dating people who turn into swords. How can you honestly sit there and go, oh, this really sets me off because it reminds me of something that happened to me with a guy, and no, it doesn't. Some sort of magic sword man never stalked you in your life. It's fiction that's so far removed from reality. But apparently, this doesn't even go far enough. One person says, and kidnapping and human experimentation. But this is definitely a step in the right direction. A person asks them if they honestly, truly expect them to list point by point everything that happens in this game on the pre-game content warning. Like, do you genuinely think this is reasonable or realistic? And they reply, I would have liked to know about human experimentation and kidnapping, so yes. And go on to list a bunch of other things they think should have been listed, asking, why are you pretending this is unreasonable? Because that's all the story. By telling people all of this shit, where are the surprises? Like the moment you meet whoever the antagonist of the game is, you're gonna go, oh well, this is definitely the guy that's gonna try and stalk me, I guess, and at some point I suppose he'll kidnap me. Yay, now I know everything that's gonna happen to my character. Then what's the point of playing a game? Like, to me, this would have been like if at the beginning of Reservoir Dogs, a big ol' warning popped up saying, this film contains a torture scene in which a man gleefully dances around a police officer, slashing him with a straight razor and then cutting his ear off, before being shot by another man. It also contains a scene of a civilian being shot by an undercover officer after they are shot by the civilian. A discussion of the true meaning of Madonna's Like a Virgin, a man who is very stingy with tips, that's a content warning for the servers in the audience who might get triggered by customers who don't tip, and all but one person dies at the end of the film. Enjoy! Cool! Now I know everything that's gonna happen! That's exactly what I want when I consume entertainment, to have zero surprises. But this person brags about how they're basically the anime fun police, how they write trigger warnings for anime that likely no one reads because it's on their Twitter account with 600 followers. They truly think they're in the right. Another person writes that it should include trigger warnings for a specific character breaking up with you, which I thought was maybe some sort of fucking joke, except they wrote it to like 10 different people. You know what I thought covered this? The fucking rating. Let's look at Grand Theft Auto 5, for example, rated M for mature, featuring intense violence, blood and gore, nudity, mature humor, strong language, strong sexual content, and the use of drugs and alcohol. There's your fucking trigger warning right there. Would seeing or experiencing any of those things in a game bother you? Well, not necessarily, but there are certain specific situations. I'll just stop you right there. The answer is yes, and you shouldn't play this game. It doesn't need to tell you about the surprise torture scene with Trevor. That's covered in the intense violence. The ESRB rating for Boyfriend Dungeon is T for teen, containing fantasy violence, language, and sexual themes. If there are any sexual themes you can't handle that will actually upset you, you should not play a video game that lists that in the rating. But man, you think these people are bad? Wait till you hear about this one. Square Enix fixed an icon in Final Fantasy XIV, an 11-year-old online game, an icon, some tiny little graphic in the corner of the screen sometimes, because they received feedback from players all over the world that the icon made them uncomfortable or fearful. This icon, it's, I don't know, 4 kinda wand-looking things, but they have holes in them, which triggers people with trypophobia, who apparently have a fear of closely packed holes. Packed holes. Anyway, Healthline.com's example of the condition says people who see a strawberry could be triggered. Grocery stores, where are your trigger warnings? This grocery store may contain strawberries and Cheerios. Please keep your eyes on the floor in the produce and cereal aisles. Someone might suggest that it didn't take an artist or developer much time to change the icon, and maybe it didn't. But why should they have wasted any time for the very small handful of people who A, have this very specific phobia, and B, play this decade-old game? Because I think this just opens the door for more of this shit, where every player truly believes that every developer should not only spend time listening to their specific problems with a piece of entertainment, but fix them as well. Cater everything to them. Not everything is for you, and you have to understand that. If you're a picky eater, then you know there are restaurants you have to avoid. You can't go to a Michelin star restaurant and ask the chef to make items with or without certain ingredients. They don't do that. You go to McDonald's and get your McNuggets with no dipping sauce or whatever the fuck. Sorry, but that other experience is just not for you. If you're a person who can't separate fiction from reality, or you have to equate every single fucking thing that happens to fictional characters to something that happened in your life, then there may be video games that you just can't play. A game called Doki Doki Literature Club, which is a cutesy-looking dating sim that hides a psychological mindfuck within, had a warning that said, "This game is not suitable for children or those who are easily disturbed." They recently added a whole section where they'll spoil the game for you or have shit pop up before anything shocking happens to help you brace for it. What's the point then? Like, imagine if a horror movie paused to go, "There's a jump scare coming up in 5 seconds. Please get ready for it." Oh yeah, that would make the movie much more fun. No, that first warning was perfect. That's all you need. The trigger warning should simply be, do you easily get triggered by things? Then this game is not for you. Go play Stardew Valley. Although a valley is technically a very large hole, so maybe, I don't know, play a different game called Getting Therapy. Because I'm not saying your issues aren't real. I believe that they're very real, and I'm sorry that bad shit has happened to you in your life. However, it's not every entertainment creator's job to deal with those issues for you. It's your job to deal with those issues. You need help if a boy who turns into a sword upsets you by hitting on you in a video game. But no, let's ruin every potential surprising plot twist in a game for everyone else in the world in order to cater to you, who now may not even buy or play the game anyway because they told you that you'll be upset by something in it. Otherwise, I guess we can just go back to games with no story and graphics with no discernible features, like I talked about with Pac-Man. How about Donkey Kong? Oh wait, trigger warning, kidnapping and animal abuse. Or maybe Space Invaders. Nope, look at all those little tightly packed holes. Or Centipede. No, I have scolopendrophobia. How the Neanderthals of the 1980s managed to play games without quivering in the fetal position on the arcade floor, we'll never truly know.